Question 3. Since you were young, did you feel like any of those things mattered to you? I would say initially no. I think as I got to like 13, 14, well, I think I've kind of always known, not always, but like since I was like, you know, when you're in middle school and you're like, yeah, I want 2, 3 kids, whatever. Like, I've always been like, yeah, I do, and I know I do. But it wasn't something that was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to, like, whoa. And it wasn't like I was worried about anything when I was first diagnosed, and even throughout most of my treatment. I would say maybe towards the end, like, I thought about it, and especially when I started to learn more about cancer, because I have done multiple research projects on it, because, like I said, fascinates me. I think that has caused me to make it matter more, because, yeah, I don't know how to explain it any better. But yeah, that was essentially question 3. Question 4. What was the most challenging part of your treatment? Honestly, I tried to look on the bright side for the most part. There were definitely times when it was awful. Like, the side effects of treatment, I didn't get some of them, but I also got really weird ones. So I got, of course, hair loss, which was kind of hard because not having your hair is kind of funky. Like, at first it was kind of like, oh, I know it's gonna happen, like, I'm gonna embrace this, but then it was like, I was slowly waiting for it to grow back, and it was kind of cute, but now that I look back at the pictures, I'm like, oh, yikes, type of thing. So in the moment, I don't think that was too challenging. I will say I wasn't able to travel, which really sucked, because I used to travel a lot. Like, I travel every year to visit family, friends, that type of thing. So it made it really hard for me to not be able to travel, and also I wasn't able to go out and socialize as much, which was also really hard. I go to church, and I love the people at my church so much, and I wasn't able to see them for a good like 2 years because I had to isolate myself, not all the time, but a lot of the time, because I was immunodeficient, so I was at really high risk for getting sick from other people. So it was like they really only wanted me to have contact with people in my home, and tried to limit the amount I got sick, because if I got sick, then I end up back in the hospital, and then they'd have to deal with things, and it was always a big thing. So that was definitely really hard, trying to deal with the whole being fairly isolated. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that was really challenging. I did spend a lot of time in the hospital. I loved my doctors. I loved my nurses so much. But spending a lot of time in the hospital can also be really boring. You find things to cope with, which I believe is another question that I have, so I'll say what I coped with after. So you find like things to cope with, things to do, but it also gets really boring after a while. But you also really find a way to bond with your nurses, and they get to know you, you get to know them. Sometimes they'll even tell you about their life story. Those are the fun times, is when you get to hear about their life stories. But yeah, so most challenging, I would say the isolation, probably. Also, nausea was awful. Chemotherapy causes you to feel so nauseous, and you're throwing up all the time, and it was just like, I felt like I was never gonna stop, and it's kind of made me now hate throwing up, because I did it so much. Now I try to prevent myself as much as possible from throwing up. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, just throw up, it'll make you feel better. It's like, yeah, but like, will it? So yeah, that was also really hard, but I wouldn't say that that's really, really bad. Question 5. How did you cope with the emotional aspects of your treatment? So treatment does take a mental toll on you, because it's exhausting, absolutely exhausting. You are isolated, like I said, so some people can get depressed. Personally, I don't think, or it didn't seem like I did, because I had a lot of support, and I found ways to make it as positive as possible and find ways to not be as hard. So some things that I did was I made sure that I like had a strong like support system, and also, like I said for the last question, I started to bond with the nurses. So like I had a good relationship with them. We just joke and stuff, and I ended up finding it very interesting, the things that they were doing. So being able to pay attention to what the nurses were doing when they were like doing treatment, or like priming the line, or giving me a medication, or they were like, hey, are you feeling this way? I'd be like, why are you asking? That type of stuff. I found that a good way to kind of put myself more at ease, I think, because I was able to understand what was going on, and it caused me to not be as stressed, I think. Also, I found a lot of things to help me keep busy. I watched a lot of TV. I played a lot of cards. So my mom and I, not my mom and I would play solitaire. My mom taught me. We're so cool. Solitaire was a wonderful game. Awesome. With physical cards, let's just say. Because, like, the online games are cool too. But the physical cards, it's a lot harder to win. So I would play solitaire a lot. And then if my mom was there, I would play this game called cribbage. I think it's an older game. I think it's kind of like a old people game, but I love it. My mom and I would play like so many games in a day. It was great. We loved it. We also played this game called Skip-Bo, which is a game that my family has played for years. Like since I could start playing, or since I could read cards, we would play pretty much. So we kind of just kept busy with like card games and shows and talking to nurses. We would, when I was able to, we would walk around the hallways sometimes, just on the floor that I was in, but we'd walk around hallways just to get some movement in and see something different. I'd call family type of stuff. Sleep was a big one because I was exhausted, so I would sleep a lot, and I love sleep. They also had like ways that we could be entertained. So they actually had a clown at my hospital, like not a creepy clown. It was just somebody who dressed up a bit and came and just talked to you, kind of stuff, made jokes, had fun. So that was really cool. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. They had dogs that came in sometimes, which was great. I got to snuggle with the doggies. Love them. They had so many things that you could do, honestly. Like if you were really truly bored, you could like ring up your nurse and be like, hey, can I have some coloring pencils and a coloring page? Am I allowed to leave my room? And if I could leave my room, I could go to they had like a room that had games and like video games, board games, card games. I could go to that room. Like there were so many things to do, honestly. Even though there wasn't a lot to do, like it felt like there was a good balance. So luckily I was able to keep myself pretty busy. So question 6, did you have a support system during your treatment? I had an amazing support system. So I had not only my parents and my sisters, I had my extended family, and I had my nurses and my doctors and all the people from my church. So I had a lot of people supporting me. The main support that I felt at the time was definitely from my family, especially my mom, because my mom was with me all of my treatments. So like she was just my main support. She was mine. She was my support. But my family in general, they were so supportive, always helping. Like if I wasn't feeling well, they'd help me like do whatever I needed, give me encouragement. Actually, a really good family friend of ours was the one who shaved my head. That was great. Just a whole bunch of stuff, honestly. Yeah, I just had a really good support system. And my doctors and nurses, like I said, I love them to pieces, bro. Oh, I love them so much. My nurses, they would always like give me encouragement. They like, doing so well, good job. Well, not really good job, I don't know. But, like, they just, like, always encourage me and just be like, you're doing great. Maybe you get to go home tomorrow. Maybe. And I would like to point out that my nurses did love me and my doctors do love me. Like, I'm not bragging. But, like, I was cool. I was cool. I'm not cool now, but I was cool. I was so nice to them and I entertained them sometimes. It was great. Little entertainment thing. Little side story. So I had these things called spinal taps. So they would, like, literally stick a needle into your spine and take out spinal fluid and then put in a chemotherapy drug. And so before I had the spinals, I was asleep. Just saying. Like sedated asleep. Before those treatments that I had, I would put a tattoo, like, right near my spine. So not, like, where they put the needle, because that would be dangerous, but, like, around the area. I put a tattoo so that when they did it, they would see it and they would laugh. I love that. I thought it would bring them a little bit of joy right before they decide to stick my spine with a needle. I just, like, found some ways to support my support system type of thing. I don't know. Yeah, so that's the answer to that one.